Alon, what's going on, man? Good to have you back on the podcast, filling in for Steven.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to previewing some of these NFL games as well as talking a little bit of Warriors too, which is feel like it's something haven't really talked about with anybody over the last couple months. I mean, they won the championship, and it was just like, all right, that's on the back burner. It's all NFL now. So, no, glad to be back, and thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. So we started this podcast just a couple minutes ago, and for whatever reason, we're not able to upload the stream. It's not going to Twitter right now, but it's going to YouTube. So
Oh, that's
okay.
okay.
So for all you guys that are trying to watch on the stream, apologies. I guess we'll just upload the podcast later today. But just your pregame show, man. Week 6. Alon Desai filling in for Steven, who's over in merry old London, and we'll get him back in a week or so. But Alon, thanks for filling in. I know he had a late night last night.
Did
calling the Air Force and UNLV game, and that was quite the close contest, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, just your run of the mill 42-7 blowout. Air Force just trounced UNLV, and that's 2 weeks in a row that UNLV, after a really good start to the season, 4-1, they got blown out in San Jose. I know our friends Cody Elias and Alex Scott, who are San Jose State season ticket holders. They're proud season ticket holders over there. They were at that game, and so 40-7 1 week, and then 42-7 last night. But I'll tell you what, I don't remember the last time I saw a game where a team ran the ball 76 times. That's what Air Force did. They ran the ball 76 times. And
well, that was just a year ago with the Buffalo Bills and the Patriots.
Yeah, and a fun fact I learned watching one of the games in prep for that game, watching an Air Force game, which was called by Guy Haberman, which was very entertaining to listen to. Air Force had only returned has only returned one kickoff all year. They always fair catch, and they still have not returned a punt. They didn't return a punt last night either. So, thank you to a tip of the hat to Guy Haberman for that great research. Totally stole that from him.
The guy. Well, I mean, hey, all great broadcasters steal from each other. But do you happen to know the last time at football history that a referee went into the stands to tell a band to stop playing?
I don't know if has it happened before where they go into the stands, because usually it's a PA announcer over the mic, or maybe the referee will say something, but also like kind of the gall of that. Like I saw a great tweet from someone last night who said, there's no other power trip like being a college referee, because they're just in total command of everything. And he went up into the stands, about 10 rows up, to go talk to the band and tell them to stop playing when Air Force had the ball. And I'm like, okay, all right, Steve Barron.
Yeah, that was quite. So, what was the whole discrepancy? It was because the Air Force band was playing while UNLV was playing.
Other way around. So, UNLV's band got a warning for, I guess, playing too often during play, which that is warranted. You cannot play. You can't play during play. But from where I was, I mean, I was up there in the booth, so I can. But the booth's open, so I didn't really hear it. Then again, I had my headphones turned up to like 20, so I hear myself and hear everybody else. But yeah, I'd never seen that before. It was very fascinating, and they showed the replay on the monitor, and it was pretty funny. He like went up there with a mission. He's like dodging people.
So Steve Barron, the referee for the game, the official,
he
pulled a whole Ron Artest where he jumped into the stands, went up to the 10th row, and told the band to stop. I mean, that's what his mic is for, my man. Like, you could just pop that up and be like, "Hey, band, stop."
I guess. Yeah, but I don't know, Darren. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I'm still confused about it. I've never seen that in my life.
No, it's hilarious and goofy at the same time, where he could have just told the band to stop, but he felt it upon himself to jump into the crowd and run all of 10 rows to tell the band stop it. That's just hilarious to me. Hilarious. So how long was the game delayed?
The game, I would say the game it wasn't that long of a delay, maybe an extra 3 or 4 minutes, but they did it during a break. So he was actually pretty fast, because when it started, I could see him like speed walking across the field. I was like, okay, what the heck's he going to do? I thought maybe it was something with one of the line judges somewhere, down marker or something like that. Nope, he starts going up into the crowd, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And at first, I thought maybe he was injured or something. I was like, why would he be leaving that way? Like, maybe, what's going on? And then we found out he was talking to the band, and it was just like, all right, well, that's weird. That's a first. I've never seen that before in my life. And I think
everybody had to wait for him to come back down the stairs.
Yep. Everybody had to wait back for him to come back down. And I wish I should have pulled the audio of it, but I think on the call I was like, Steve Barron's up in the stands, apparently talking to the band, and looks like they cleared all that up. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? It was just insane.
It would have been hilarious if he, in the process, coming downstairs, just ate shit, and then everybody had to wait for him to. Oh, he fell, and now we got to wait for the official to get back up again. Now he's going to the field. He's embarrassed.
And they would have had to check on him too, because everybody gets checked on now. Referees, especially, anytime they take a bump or a spill, it would have been like, "Hey, are you all right? Are you okay?" And he would have been like, "Yeah, come on, let's start again. I don't want anybody to think about me falling down the stairs here."
Well, just a weird thing last night, and a very weird sports day. We'll get to it all. We'll talk about some college football, some basketball, like you said, Alon. So every time you come on this podcast, it seems that Alabama loses, and I apologize because I think you were on the day after the national championship game where they lost to Georgia, and so now we talk about another Alabama loss, and it seems like once a year they have one of these crazy shootouts that either goes their way or doesn't go their way. And yesterday, for your sake, unfortunately, didn't go their way. Alon, a proud Alabama alum, and quite the game, 52-49. I don't care for that many points in a college football game or a football game in general, but sometimes you get that. Yeah, dude, 52-49, probably one of the ugliest game-winning kicks you'll ever see in your life because it was blocked, but still miraculously went in. Your thoughts on Alabama's loss to Tennessee for the first time in 15 years. 2006 was the last time they fell to the old Volunteers.
Yeah, first time in 15 years, which, I mean, eventually that was going to end. But as an Alabama alum and fan, I'm like, oh, that's never going to happen. Tennessee's never going to beat Alabama. But it was a good game. Alabama dug themselves a hole early. Bryce Young was a little shaky at first, but then he really settled down. He looked really good. Tennessee's a good team, and their crowd, I think that was the craziest their crowd has been maybe since they had a chance to upset Alabama when Lane Kiffin was the coach about 10 years ago-ish now. So, I mean, it was an insane game. I think the play that's not getting talked about is Jahmyr Gibbs, running back / I guess hybrid wide receiver, you can call him, from Alabama. He dropped a pass over the middle late in the game from Bryce Young, and it would have set up an easier field goal for Will Reichard. And Jahmyr Gibbs may have actually been off to the races, scored a touchdown. So, I mean, missed opportunities for Alabama. One of the very interesting little tidbits from that game. So the previous record for a Saban-coached Alabama team for penalties was 15. Well, now they didn't just break that. They had 17 penalties, and that's a school record. So Alabama was penalized like crazy, and maybe the most egregious of them, one that they didn't commit, was a DPI, defensive pass interference, when they tried picking off Hooker in the end zone there. And it just seemed like after that didn't go their way and the game got tied back up, I was like, okay, so Alabama's going to get a chance here. They're going to try to set up Reichard for a field goal, and he just missed it. He pushed the kick, and then to have a kick that's blocked. And it wasn't a long kick, but I believe it was this ball was 26-ish, so 43-yard kick to partially block a kick and have it still go in. Like you said, ugly, but it gets the job done. I mean, that we're used to seeing that sometimes at a short distance, like an extra point-ish kind of distance, or especially old school extra point in the NFL. But it's not too often that a ball gets hit, at the line, and it still makes it through, especially from that distance. So it was a wild game, but I had to calm down. Not myself so much, well, a little bit myself, but other people I know. I was like, look, nothing really changes. They still have to win the SEC West. And then if they win the SEC West, they go to the SEC championship with one loss and win that. They're in the playoff. But what's really crazy is, as big of a win as that is for Tennessee, it doesn't really change Georgia's situation or Tennessee's situation either. Because even though it is an in-conference game, they're both from two different sides of the conference. So, it's like great win and horrible loss for Alabama, but like it doesn't shake the SEC up whatsoever, other than some of the talking points in the AP rankings and eventual playoff rankings when they first come out. But I mean, other than that, it's like there's still going to have to be a team that wins the SEC, and that team goes to the playoff. What this probably does do, though, unless, Tennessee and Georgia have something weird happen and Alabama loses another game but still wins the SEC West, this effectively, in my opinion, would set it up for there not being two SEC teams in the playoff this year. So it might just be the winner of the SEC championship.
I'm not a big fan of the divisions in the SEC. I understand totally what you're saying. I just wish that they just had the two top teams play. I'm never a fan of like what so how's it divided? There's the West and the East, or whatever
the West and the East. And the East for a long time was kind of not a laughing stock, but it was like, okay, it's Florida. It's basically Florida, and Georgia's going to fade at some point. And now they're pretty even, but yeah.
And in my opinion, you should just always have the top teams with the best records. It shouldn't be divisions in a conference in college football. But we're going to a day and age coming up pretty soon where that won't even be a thing. But just as far as the game yesterday, Jalen Hyatt, 6 catches, 207 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was the guy getting it done for Tennessee yesterday. Wasn't really impressed with their quarterback. What's that much? Who's Tennessee's quarterback?
Hooker.
Yeah.
He's good.
What's his first name?
Menden.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Young did very well. I still think he's got to bulk up a little bit to play in the NFL. He still probably will be taken first overall, but I mean, we still got a lot of time before then. But I don't think it's that big of a deal as a loss for Alabama. And yeah, I mean, we still got a lot of football to play. A lot of teams went down yesterday. USC lost on a 2-point conversion from Utah. Just a crazy day in sports in general. Baseball playoffs. You saw the Yankees lose. Dodgers are eliminated. Just a weird day overall. But as far as you said, I mean, Alabama, not that big of a deal. They lost last year. Yeah, or did they go undefeated the regular season last year? And then lost in the championship game? I forget if they had a loss before.
They lost to A&M last year.
That's right. I forgot about that. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, everybody roots for Alabama to lose, I guess. But I was thoroughly entertained by the game. I just thought it was weird that it went from a missed kick to a block kick going in, just kind of crazy ass game. But like you said, Alon, I think that Alabama will be right there in the end in the AP polls and the playoff with the 4 teams.
And they tore down the goalpost too. It was an insane scene.
I never get that. I never understand tearing down your own goalpost that you got to put up a week later.
It's so dangerous, but they do it. Teams do it anyway. I mean, it only happens in college. Yeah.
I understand the fun, and Tennessee was rocking last night. A shit ton of people stormed the field, but also like, I don't know.
Yeah. Tear down the goalposts. I know.
Tear down the goalposts. It's your own goddamn stadium. What are you doing?
Breaking your own sliding glass door to your patio and celebrate. You know what? It's like when over at Kentucky when they burn couches. I'm like, what is this? Now they sometimes do that out of anger, but I think they also do it when they celebrate too. When they win like a basketball championship, it's like, okay, let's go burn our couches. All right. I mean, whatever. Real quick, Derek, you mentioned Dodgers Padres. So I had picked the Padres for that series, and
even though you are a Dodger fan,
yes, and I actually had the Padres. I had a ticket on them for to make it to the World Series, so to win the NL, and that was pretty good odds. It was plus 1,700. So
now why? I'm just curious. Why did you feel the Padres were going to beat the Dodgers in that series?
So when the Padres went out and got Juan Soto as well as Hader, I thought it was like, okay, they're going all in, like, and they have a lot of star power. Obviously, the Tatis thing really hurt them, but I just honestly, I really like Bob Melvin, and maybe I'm partial to him. I think he's a very good manager, and I think he managed that series about as well as you could, and you really saw the two different styles on display, especially I believe in Game 3. Where Melvin leaves Snell in a little bit longer and Dave Roberts takes his guy out earlier. And it's just like, okay, short leash, longer leash. And you can tell Melvin has a lot of confidence in his bullpen, where it looked like Dave Roberts was just kind of looking for answers. And they just it's amazing to me that this Dodger team, they spent so much money, but it was going to be about Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman really carrying them offensively, and those two guys didn't do the job that maybe a Machado did for the Padres. So I just felt like the star power of the Padres was going to rise to the occasion more so than the star power of the Dodgers, and that's what ended up happening, which I'm a little surprised at. But it wasn't. At the same time, it was like, okay, so the Dodgers maybe were a little bloated, and it's tough. It's tough to go wire to wire as the best team in baseball. I mean, or best team in the NL. I mean, they won what 111 games.
111 games.
It's a franchise record, and they just couldn't sustain it.
It's a huge disappointment for the Dodgers.
Oh,
and I am ecstatic for Bob Melvin. Loved him as the A's manager. Moves on to better places. Honestly, like we all know what's going on with the A's, and we talked to Joe Fortenbaugh a couple of months ago, actually, and he seemed very pessimistic about the A's future in Vegas. I know you live in Vegas. I've heard mixed things.
I go back and forth now. At first, I was like, I think they're going to be here, and now I'm like, no, it looks like they're staying in Oakland, which obviously, selfishly, I'd love to have them here, but I'd rather have them stay in Oakland. Because I'm an Oakland A's fan.
No, and I am too. But also at the same time, they don't want to be here. So how do you get the fans back on everything? And yay, we're rooting in Oakland again. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, it is. Force of sale. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah. No, there you go. Exactly. And every Giant fan in the Bay Area rejoices because the Dodgers lose, even though they are out of the playoffs themselves. Never understand it. But anyway, that's a story for another day as well. All right. We'll talk about a team that everybody in the Bay Area can get along with, the Warriors, Golden State Warriors. We know what's going on. Alon, I know you've been watching everything that's going on with Draymond the last week or so. He gets, I guess, reinstated back into the team last week and plays in the preseason game last Friday, and everything's kumbaya, everything's good. It seems like that on the surface. And then yesterday, they pretty much tell what the future is going to be. And there was 3 people that were worthy of extensions this offseason: Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins. And the young guys got it. Yesterday, Jordan Poole gets a 4-year, $140 million contract extension, and Andrew Wiggins gets less, saves the Warriors some money, even though they're spending almost $500 million on this payroll. Andrew Wiggins signs for 4 years and $109 million. And there's nothing for Draymond Green. As expected, I've been saying on this podcast with Steven that I believe that this is going to be Draymond Green's last season. Who knows if he'll opt in? People say that now because of the fight that he's less attractive to other teams. I don't agree with that. I think that it's one bad instance. And if he plays well, then teams are going to want him. It depends on the right situation, though. Like, I think the Lakers will be all over him because LeBron loves him and he loves LeBron. So I do think this is going to be Draymond's last season with the Warriors. And the Warriors pretty much said yesterday that we're going younger. And, they're not going to come out and say, like, this is it for Draymond, but it kind of feels that way. So just your thoughts, Alon, on Jordan Poole getting his money, Andrew Wiggins getting his money, and Draymond not getting his money.
I love Jordan Poole getting extended. I love Wiggins getting extended. I think that's huge. Wiggins just absolutely proved not just his value during the regular season and the playoffs, but the finals especially. His finals performance was outstanding, and he does a lot of things that the Warriors need for the way that they like to play. He's very big, he's long, and he can play good defense. He can pass. He can do a lot of things. Poole on the other, and he gives them a viable post-up option at times. Like, he can score in that mid-range area, and the Warriors don't really have a lot of mid-range guys. So that's really important, even though that's not the way they like to play. But generally speaking, Jordan Poole, on the other hand, I mean, he does a lot of the things shooting-wise that maybe a Steph Curry does. He can pull up from deep. He can shoot off the dribble. He seems to be a great teammate, regardless of what Draymond Green might think sometimes. But no, it's great extensions on both of them. I'm amazed that Wiggins took less money, but that just proves maybe that, he knows he's still making a lot of money. I mean, it's not like he's getting chump change. He's making over $25 million a year. But I think it shows that in his mind, probably he's like, okay, our window is still pretty big here, at least for another 2 or 3 years. So I'll sign for a little less and save the team a little bit of money. Like you said, spending close to $500 million. Like, I mean, at this point, no one should be surprised about the money that the Warriors spend. That ownership group is like open checkbook, and they will spend whatever it takes to keep that team good and competitive. And there's probably nothing more disheartening than when everybody was banged up that first year at the Chase Center and they couldn't do anything about it. So no, it's great. On Draymond's side of things, I think going back to the 95-7, the game days where we were all working there, I don't know if we all were kind of in accordance about this, but it always seemed like Draymond would be the first one if there was going to be one of those core players to leave or to be shown the door, he would be the one. And it's not just because of the position he plays, power forward, but his small, undersized power forward, but it's how much of Draymond can you deal with over the course of, X amount of years. And then additionally, just the taxation that his body takes, the toll that his body takes with the way he plays. And at a point, even though he is a Hall of Famer, or he will be a Hall of Famer, and, he's been a great player for the Warriors, it's just the play and the production doesn't warrant paying him all that much money when eventually with his play style, he is going to break down faster than the rest of them. And he doesn't score enough points. I hate to say that because points is not the only thing in basketball, but him averaging, 7.5 points, even with all the assists and rebounds, it's just, it's hard to put up with that with all the constant antics and things like that. And it's also hard to put up with, do you really want him to keep running the show or think he's running the show? And the fact that they had to have a team meeting about whether to reinstate him or not, I mean, they were going to reinstate him. They know they have to. He's there for another year at least. But, I thought Steve Kerr was really telling with what he said about it after the punch incident happened, where he said, this should have never been leaked to the media, and because this makes it a whole hell of a lot worse for everybody. And it was almost, but if you heard him say it, he was like exhausted by it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of the team is as well, but they very well could be.
I think they're tired of his antics. And one big thing that I came away with this week hearing Steve Kerr talk is he said that this is the biggest crisis they've ever dealt with, which is surprising to me considering everything that's gone on in their time, the Kevin Durant stuff. I mean, Patrick McCaw, remember that falling on his head?
Yeah, Patrick McCaw. I mean, that was huge.
And then him, holding out, wanting a new contract, thinking that he was, deserving of being a starter on a team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. I think DeMarcus Cousins was on that team at the time. No, because they gave DeMarcus Cousins 0. But anyway,
0. Yep.
Yeah. But the point being is that despite the fact that Steve was pissed that this video leaked out, it was a big deal. Even though, I don't know how you feel about it, Alon, but in my opinion, you don't see, I mean, there's fights, obviously, in locker rooms, but you never see someone slug somebody like that.
No.
And Draymond, owned it afterwards, and I don't know if him and Jordan Poole will be best buddies going forward, but I don't think that matters. I think that they're all focused on this season, and I thought it was kind of telling when Draymond Green said that this is my last season. I mean, he didn't say this is my last season with the Warriors, but I have a contract this season, and then I have the opportunity to opt in next season, and I'm not going to make it a big deal. People were kind of reaching for him, kind of alluding to the fact that he's not going to make a big spectacle out of this thing like Kevin Durant did, but I don't think he was trying to go for that. I think that honestly, Draymond, I think the Warriors are tired of Draymond's act a little bit, and they just want to go younger. I don't, the point stuff, they know who he is. It will be a huge adjustment without him, because he's the quarterback and the middle linebacker, I believe, of the Warriors. So it'll be adjustment, but I do expect, I know we're talking about starting lineups for this upcoming game on Tuesday when they open the season up against the Lakers, and I still can't believe we're starting the season up so fast. But I believe the starting lineup for the 2023-2024 Golden State Warriors will what they're hoping for is it's going to be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, and James Wiseman, and that's your starting five for the future. Would not to mention Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench.
Yeah, which I mean, a healthy Wiseman who is still developing and all those kinds of things as an everyday starter. I mean, that's just massive for the Warriors because we all see the potential that Wiseman has. Back to the Draymond Green thing, as you said, like I don't think he was alluding to any kind of Kevin Durant kind of make a huge deal of the decision or any of that kind of stuff. It was just I think it was actually his attempt at saying I don't want to distract the team. I just caused maybe the biggest distraction that I've ever
Yep.
caused since being
Yep.
here. Now, will he make a big deal about where he goes? He will on his own podcast and stuff like that when the time
Well,
comes.
that's the stuff I worry about. Is
Yeah,
that I'm glad he said himself, I'm not going to address this on the podcast because that would be running away from the situation. I just don't want it to be where we got to listen to every single podcast of Draymond Green's because he's going to give some cryptic thing about how he's not going to come back to the Warriors next season. I just want this season to be focused on winning a 5th championship, and that's it. We'll deal with all the bullshit later. And I'm glad that they hammered out these contracts before, so there's no off the court talking points. I don't want you were there along that
yeah,
last season in 2019. That sucked. Like
that was bad. It took sucked the fun out of it.
exactly like that. Everything was based on will Kevin Durant come back, and it never was about the team. And I couldn't even there's a few memorable games from that season. Actually, the most memorable game from that 2019 season was when the Warriors beat the Rockets without Kevin Durant. That was a fantastic moment, and it's probably one of my top 3 favorite Warrior playoff games. But I don't want any off the court drama, and there probably will be because media and everything. Everybody wants to ruin a good thing, but I just want to enjoy the now, and then we'll worry about the bullshit later. Whatever happens with Draymond, he can throw a tantrum and put it on a podcast that he wants to leave and go to his best friend LeBron James in the offseason. Let's focus on the here and now. We locked up Jordan Poole. We locked up Andrew Wiggins. Let's focus on winning a 5th championship.
Yeah, and that is what the focus is, and that's what it should be. And I think once they get into regular season play, I think they're just going to get back to grinding and try to win, and everything will be hunky dory. And if they win it all, that'll be great. And that's kind of the perfect opportunity for him to kind of ride off somewhere else if he wants to, or you never know, maybe he changes his feathers here and he's like, I'm going to be a team guy only, and I'm going to be very well behaved all the time, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing he's not going to opt out, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We still got a long time before.
There's more money on the horizon somewhere else. And a team like the Lakers will go, oh, perfect. Let's see. Do you tick all the boxes? You're above 30 years old. You're a future Hall of Famer. And you're best friends with LeBron. Perfect. How much money do you want?
Yep, perfect. Just him and Kyrie and LeBron and Anthony Davis. Just that will be, the opposite of a shit show. Probably not. Anyway, but that's way down the line. We'll think about that another time. As far as another shit show and off the field stuff, after the Raider game last week, and I know that was a tough one. But real quick along, before we talk about the stuff with Devontae Adams, what did you think about the decision to go for 2 with Josh McDaniels?
I liked it. I was watching the game with my dad. We're watching at my place, and I start. My sister and mom were here too, and I start shouting. I go for 2, no balls. You won't do it. You won't do it. and then he does it, and I went, no ball. Whoa, he's doing it. And then they didn't get it, but
they were close though. They were an inch away.
They were an inch away. Yeah, it didn't bother me. Because I went, okay, I see what he's doing. And I went, all right, because he's thinking that Kansas City's probably going to score either way, and they ended up not. But
well, I thought that he was doing it with the idea of either the Chiefs are going to kick a field goal to go up by 2,
yeah,
or their kicker is going to have problems because they have the biggest thing about the Chiefs this season is their kicker has had issues. Obviously, Harrison Butker has been injured. They've had Justin Reed fill in. They've had Matt Amendola fill in, and that's why they lost that Colt game. So I understand his thinking there that maybe if there's enough time left where if they kick a field goal, then you have a chance to kick a field goal and win the game by 1. But they were never given that opportunity. They had that opportunity in front of them and didn't take it because of a more questionable 4th and 1 play that I thought, where you could just run the ball with Josh Jacobs, but instead they try to go for the replay of what happened in the first quarter with Devontae Adams on a deep 4th and 1 play action pass.
I mean, it was a blitz beater. I think Devontae would have been wide open. Now, would the throw have been there? I don't know. We'd have to replay that down. But
I mean, also Hunter Renfrow and Devontae, colliding.
That's the well, and that's the bigger problem is Hunter Renfrow was running kind of up and out, and he should have been maybe just past the first down marker. I mean, it was only a yard to go, but at max maybe 10 yards down the field, and instead he runs right into Devontae, and all hell breaks loose after the game ends. And frustration obviously with Devontae, but maybe the bigger play was him bobbling a ball on his way out of bounds, a ball that he always catches, where he tapped his feet down and they overturned it. Raiders would have had the ball in the Chief 35, would have been an easy kick, and for Carlson, easy kick. And he bobbles that. They originally call it complete, then they look at it, they call it incomplete, and then they run a blitz beat on 4th down. But the thing is, I mean, you got a yard and a half to go. I get it. Spagnuolo is going to bring heat, so you want to run something that's just going to annihilate a blitz. So you got to hope the protection holds up. But what's the crime in just running someone short? And I know they didn't have Waller, but Waller hasn't been all that productive this season. So you have Mac Hollins and Renfrow and, a slew of running backs, Amir Abdullah, who could have, run out of the backfield, all kinds of options. Instead, they went for the big sexy play, and they threw pies in their own faces, basically. It wasn't good.
And to me, that was the more egregious call. And by the way, we are down live on Twitter. I don't know what that was going on earlier, but just in time for Raider Talk. So terrible. Yeah, I mean, it's. I wouldn't say it's a terrible loss. It's a unfortunate loss just because you had the 17-0 lead, and you were aggressive, and in the end, just didn't go your way. I said this last week on the podcast that the best 1-4 team I've seen. I still think there's a chance with the expanded playoffs for the Raiders to make the playoffs, maybe as a wild card. We don't know what's going on. With, I don't know. I don't really have a good idea about who the Chargers are yet, or even the Broncos. To be honest, I think that they're still figuring things out. Obviously, their offense has been putrid. Chiefs are the Chiefs. We'll see how the division goes, but. Their schedule gets pretty easier after this. So
Houston coming up, which is favorable.
Yep, they got the bye week today, and so we'll see where they are going forward. But speaking of the bye week and off-season stuff, Devontae Adams was at the Fresno State game last night against San Jose State. They retired his number, and it's been a long week for old Devontae Adams. So after that. Disappointing loss. We talked about it on the podcast last week, me and Steven, we saw it live. He pushes a camera guy working at Arrowhead Stadium. And look, it was not a good thing for Devontae Adams to do that. Not a good look. I understand you're frustrated. There's, Akbar Gbajabiamila brought up the whole thing about the guy not being in the way of the player. And I agree with that. But also at the same time, Devontae Adams shouldn't push people. Yeah. It's a bad look. The apology sucked. It would have been 10 times better if he came out of the locker room and took a picture with the guy or whatever and apologized. But also, that does not excuse the guy for making up just a horrendous. I mean, if this is all true, then I take my words back. But what's been documented is that the guy has had a concussion. He's had whiplash. Listen, this guy has a better case than the dude that Bobby Wagner tackled at Levi's a couple weeks ago, because my thoughts are, once you run on the field and a game is being played, all bets are off. You get your ass tackled.
Yep.
I don't, whatever you're protesting, I could be for or against it, but bottom line is, do not go on the field when a football game is being played.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Period.
This guy is more of a case because he is doing his job. At the same time, what are we doing here? We're charging Devontae Adams. I understand Devontae Adams did a bad thing, but do we really need to charge him with a crime? And it's misdemeanor assault. But this is ridiculous to me. That this guy has a concussion, he has whiplash. Give me a break. You got pushed and you fell over. You get back right up. So I don't think Devontae Adams should get suspended. Probably a fine here. As far as legal ramifications, just a fine. Any prison time would be ridiculous. I'm not excusing Devontae Adams of any of his actions, but at the same time, we don't need to. This is ridiculous. This is some, I've seen the memes on Twitter and everything, but like in Friday, the guy's like, "Oh, my back, my neck, and my back." Like,
yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like you don't need to take advantage of somebody because it did you wrong. You could just be like, Davante Adams is an asshole for doing this and move on.
The first thing I thought about was like a slip and fall case in a casino. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Rat Race where they're trying to scheme money. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is classic, and I think this is accurate.
Rat Race. That is a good reference, my friend. Good movie.
Hey, underrated movie. Really solid movie. But I want to say that this guy was an independent journalist, and he had I think he's a student maybe, and had a credential, or something like that. But independent journalist, so not working directly for the NFL. And yeah, I mean,
so he needs the money then.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's trying to get a lot of money for sure, and I mean, rightfully so. We live in a country where you can do that, so go for it. But one of the things I think is so interesting as a media person is generally after things like that, and I'm not a photojournalist, but give players their space. And Davante shouldn't have done that. I'm not saying that, it's because you were in his space and that's why he did it. But what I'm saying is like, just to avoid anything like that, you can get your shot without being right there. You can. And, getting up in front of someone after they clearly just slammed their helmet on the ground and obviously they're pissed because their blitz beater didn't work and all this kind of stuff. But that being said, like, to whiplash and concussion and all that, I mean, I'm sure it did hurt to get pushed over by Davante Adams. I'm not questioning that. And I'm sure the guy was a little banged up, but misdemeanor assault and then trying to drag it out in this huge civil case too, and all this, or a lawsuit. It's just, it's fascinating to me that this is kind of being talked about like this as well. And one of the things that was all over the TV was, you see Davante Adams and then you see Dennis Rodman kicking a cameraman, that kind of stuff. And it's like, these two things are not even alike. I mean, they're similar.
Dennis Rodman deliberately kicked a guy when he
was down. Yeah, exactly. And this is get out of my way. I'm trying to get to the locker room, and it's a lot different. And yeah, it sucks for Davante Adams because by all accounts he's supposed to be a great guy, and he's a good character, and cares about people, and generally does the right thing. But he really
still is. I think he's
he still is. Yeah, he had a horrible moment and he messed up. But what's amazing is this is how bad the Raiders' tenure in Las Vegas has been from a big blow up things happening, that this would be a huge deal. And it is a big deal, but it's not like Damon Arnett. Obviously, it's not like Henry Ruggs. It's not like any of these other it's not even like Josh Jacobs when he got his DUI and crashed his car. So it's not like any of these things, or Nate Hobbs when he had a DUI last year. So it's a little different. Obviously, the lawsuit and then the claims make it a lot worse, and there might be some embellishment going on over there. I mean, there totally is. So yeah, I mean, get that money, dude. Everybody needs money, but Davante, like, yeah, it was just a really bad look. It was a bad moment. It was something the team didn't need. Hopefully, it kind of does rally them together, though. Maybe that's something that they kind of need in a way. The last thing about that as well is, on the suspension front, because we haven't really heard anything if he will be suspended or fined. One of the problems is Davante makes a ton of money, and if they suspend him, they're taking away so much money from him. So I don't know. I don't think the league wants to mess with that. They don't want to get into it with the players union on an appeal there. I mean, that's just a huge game check. So I don't really know what they do about it, or if it's one of those things that's like, we let people play the next week for things that are far more egregious than this. So yeah, I just don't see what the discipline could be.
I don't think a suspension is warranted. It was a bad moment, but yeah. It wasn't. I don't know. Like I think we're making too big of a deal of it. And honestly, like, I hope that Davante Adams, like, I don't know what the legal ramifications are right now, but just a fine is fine with me. Like, this is, and also like. I just hate people acting this way. Like, oh, you did something wrong to me, so now I have to do something to you. Like, yeah. I understand Davante Adams' apology kind of sucked, but at the same time, like, come on. And, like the same thing with the protester a couple weeks ago at Levi's. Like, you ran on the field, man. And it's a different situation because this guy was just doing his job. But at the same time, like, coming up with whiplash and concussion, if he is suffering from those things, then I feel bad. But at the same time, I have a hard time believing that.
I do too. I do too. From a push on soft grass. And those NFL fields are cushy. So I mean the grass is
Depends
really
on where
nice
you play,
there.
but
Depends
yeah.
on where you play, but yeah.
If you're in Carolina, you may tear your ACL.
Terriers, yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's hard to believe, and it's just okay. We're gonna go the extra mile to try to get some money out of Devontae. I get it, it happens. But yeah, it's a bad look. I think it got blown up into a way bigger deal than it is, and maybe like so many things, the only reason it is such a big deal is because it was caught on video. And then one more thing about that, just this is something I try to tell like young journalists at the university and stuff like that. I'm like, look, like spacing is very important. I mean, I said it earlier, but like really there are times where you do want to get up close and personal. And there are other times like, if I saw Draymond Green, for instance, walking off the court furious, I am not going to get within 3 feet of that guy for what I want or what I need. I might be 5, 6, 7 feet away from him just because I don't, those are high tensions right there. I don't want to be the catalyst for something going off. That doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I remember one time being trapped in the Warriors tunnel right before a game while the players come out, and I was like, oh, I need to get out of here because like no, like it's there's a certain point where it's it's the players' time, and then there's the media time, and I knew I crossed a line, but there was no way for me to like I was stuck, so I did all I could to get out of the way, and then Draymond, everybody, and there's my little white ass like in the middle of it, but they I mean like there you have to be respectful, and at the same time like I don't know what the protocol is there with the photographer, and was he in the right spot at the right time? Who knows? Devontae Adams shouldn't have done that, but also you don't need to reap the benefits of being pushed by Devontae Adams at the same time. So that's my take on it. That's your take on it. So I'd say let's move on, and hopefully Devontae Adams plays after the bye week. Real quick before we pick some of these games, just a little topic that came up yesterday. Adam Schefter is reporting that Christian McCaffrey trade talks have been discussed. The Carolina Panthers have not said that they are willing to trade Christian McCaffrey. They are just listening to offers. And the 4 teams that have been mentioned, according to CBS Sports, are the Bills, Rams, no surprise there, Broncos, and 49ers. Now, as far as the 49ers, I don't see that happening whatsoever. They seem very comfortable. We all know Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, they do their thing with backup running backs. Elijah Mitchell is injured, but he will come back eventually. Jeff Wilson has done a great job filling in. The draft capital you have to give up to get McCaffrey, I don't think it's worth it for the 49ers' sake. And I don't think they need him, honestly, with the way that they run their offense. It's not really much of a passing running back offense. It's a zone running scheme. So I don't see a fit there. I don't even know if he gets traded at the deadline. But as soon as I saw this, two teams that I did think of immediately were the Bills and Rams. I think the Bills would fit perfectly with what they want to do, and they have to be able to run the ball in the snow, which is something that I've always, pulled the hair remaining on my head out, where they have, a great passing offense, but they play in Buffalo. They have to play like a Buffalo team sometimes. And then the Rams, I don't know what the hell's going on with Cam Akers. It sounds like they're going to move on from him, maybe. But I don't know what draft capital they have remaining to get Christian McCaffrey. I'm not suggesting that Christian McCaffrey is going to go for a first-round pick. I think those days are over. I would say maybe a second-round pick and then some. But I don't even know. Like he may be the biggest name on the trade deadline. It may be like a Juan Soto thing. Will he go? Is it too hard for him to be traded at the deadline? But those are the 2 teams I would look out for. If you're asking me, I would say Rams and Bills make the most sense for McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one. I think those days are over demanding a first-round draft pick for Christian McCaffrey, and not just Christian McCaffrey, running backs in general right now. I mean, there's probably only one running back in the NFL where you could justifiably say we need first-round picks for him. It's Derrick Henry. That's probably about
even
it.
Then, though, man. Even then, though, I think it's kind of slowing down a little bit.
So, yeah, even then it's like, okay. And then maybe just on pure talent, maybe a guy like Saquon Barkley, but his injury history doesn't warrant that either. McCaffrey, it's interesting because like they're listening to offers, and I think every team does that, or most teams that are trying to do the right thing and run their organization properly do that. I I think about the Bills. I think that would help them a lot. The Bills are very similar to Green Bay in a lot of ways where, yeah, they have this great passing offense, but then in the winter in the playoffs, like they got to be able to run the ball or have a short passing game option. And McCaffrey definitely helps them with that just because of the weather. The Rams, obvious fit just because the Rams are like, come on over. Like you're a star. All right. You're a proven commodity. We want you on our team.
And also it would help Matthew Stafford out immensely with how bad the offensive line play is, where he goes down to Cooper Kupp every single play.
Mm-hmm.
You can check down to McCaffrey.
Who's going to make all kinds of crazy things happen when he has the ball in his hands. Maybe a little sentimentality about Denver. I think that's kind of why that name is in there. That's why the Broncos name is kind of floating around. Yeah. And then also probably has something to do as well with the whole San Francisco thing too, because the Shanahan connection.
Yep.
But I agree with you. I don't think the Niners particularly McCaffrey's not going to be the piece that's going to get them over the top. Not in my opinion. If he went to the Niners, would it be really nice? Yeah, sure. But
I just don't think he fits.
I don't exactly. I don't think he fits either. They'd really have to change some things up to accommodate for him. Not that he would demand that, but just to use him to get the value out of him, you would have to change things. And I think Denver is a team that he could help immensely because Russell Wilson has been under duress a lot and he doesn't really have a whole lot of options to go to. And it would also help them not to have to trust Melvin Gordon with the football very often either because of his turnover issues. So, yeah, I mean, if McCaffrey was going somewhere and it was okay, what's best for the team that he's going to and what's best for fit, it would be the Bills and then the Rams. I think the Broncos would be 3. I don't even think the Niners should be in that conversation because he just doesn't add a whole lot of value to them. And in addition to McCaffrey, there was another running back where there's been trades being suggested, and that's Josh Jacobs. So there's been a few stories coming out the last couple of days.
I don't know how you could trade him right now.
I don't either. I don't either. And I don't think they're interested in doing so. But the assumption there is, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so they're obviously not going to resign. I don't agree with that. I think that's just McDaniels and Ziegler doing their thing where it's okay, we want to see who we're going to resign and not. But
I think the chances of Josh Jacobs being traded are slim to none. We'll see about McCaffrey. The trade deadline is coming up in a few weeks, November 1st. But
they kind of tank their season if they do that, though. I mean,
McCaffrey?
I know. Well, Carolina does. Yeah. I mean, they've already kind of hit a soft reset. They did. They fired Matt Rule. They've already hit a soft reset in a lot of ways, and this would be turning it into a full hard reset. It's tough. I mean, he's the best player they've had besides Cam Newton over the past, 12 years. So that's just a tough. If I was a Carolina fan, I'd go, oh man, I understand why you think we can get value for them when we're rebuilding, but it's Christian McCaffrey. He's so good, and
I know, but
three. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I understand why you would do it though. He's been injury prone. I understand he's going to face the franchise, but they're not doing anything with him.
No, and I was going to say maybe the days of Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey being the face of that franchise are over, and it's time to look forward.
I agree. Maybe your guy Bryce Young will be the face of the franchise.
I hope not for him.
All right, let's talk about some of these games that are coming up. Let's pick some games real quick. Thursday night came and went, and I didn't text you ahead of time to pick that game, and honestly, didn't even want to because it was a bad game, and we knew it was going to be a bad game going into it. Everyone then had to complain about it on Twitter, how bad the game is. My thing is this.
It was bad.
Yes, it was a terrible game. It was actually 2 touchdowns were scored in that game, but it was worse than the game prior, a week before, with the Broncos and Colts, where that game had 0 touchdowns. At least that game was entertaining because of how terrible it was and how close it was in the end. This game was sucked from start to finish. But you knew that. Everyone knew going into that night that the Yankees-Guardians game was rained out. So that was the last game on the docket. Or you could have watched a great West Virginia. I forgot who West Virginia played, but that game actually was pretty good. But instead, people chose to sit and watch the Bears and Commies game. And it sucked. But you could have done something else. You could have turned the TV off. You could have read a book. For God's sakes, people.
Read a book.
You don't need to sit there and complain about how bad the game is every week. We know Thursday Night Football was great with Chiefs and Chargers, and then they moved on to more crap because they get the short end of the stick with their selections. I'm tired of the complaints every week. If you don't want to watch, then don't freaking watch. Jesus.
Yeah, then don't what? Did you call them the commies?
Yeah, you haven't heard that? Yeah.
No, I haven't. I like that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so Commanders and Bears, 12-7. I mean, just one of those games that's going to be in the annals of NFL history forever. It was so bad.
Maybe even the anals.
Maybe even the anals with how shitty that game was. I mean, that was terrible. I watched the first half and I went, what am I doing? And I turned it off and I went and did other stuff because I went,
there you go.
I'm not watching this.
See, and you have that right. I chose to watch the entire game because I'm nuts.
Why
I'm not going to sit there and complain about it.
Well, yeah. So what did you do instead? So you watched the whole game and you went, why? How can the Bears not win this game? And then you probably went, my Commanders are awful too.
Pretty much, but my takeaways are that Carson Wentz, I don't know what's up with him. Like he should be a lot better than he is. Also, Justin Fields, yikes! Like I'm not ready to
He's not a bust. Yeah.
No, but he needs to learn. He needs a solid off season of just he can run. The guy's athletic, but he needs to learn how to throw. And everyone ripping Ryan Fitzpatrick for what he said. I don't think he said anything wrong. I don't think he said anything wrong. But
no.
Let's pick some games for this week in a thing we call wins or wangs.
Wentz lost his mojo. There
you go. All right, sir. So we didn't pick the Thursday night game because it sucked. So let's just focus on these games. It sucked. It did. And also, I just totally forgot to text you ahead of time. So we're just going to focus on these games. All right. So the Week 6 slate. We got the San Francisco 49ers going to the Atlanta Falcons today, and the Niners. This one has come down a lot. I think it started at 5.5, and now it's at 4. Niners are favored by 4, and the over-under is at 45.5. Along what we do here on Just Your Pregame Show, man, is we pick the winner, the point spread, and the over-under. So I leave it to you, sir. How do you see this game going?
I think Niners win outright. They cover, and it's under.
All right. Well, there you go. I am going to. So wait, you're saying the Niners? So you're not laying the points then? Are you saying the Falcons cover or the Niners?
No,
cover?
The Niners win and they cover. Yeah, so the Niners cover and it's under.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to take the Niners. I'm going to lay the points with the Niners, and I'm going to take the under 45.5. I think it's way too much, even though they scored 37 last week. Falcons are a sneaky good team, but I see this as a low-scoring game. So you and I basically are essentially picking the same thing.
Yeah.
Or not essentially, we are. Jags at the Indianapolis Colts. So for the Colts, they've had 10 weeks to prepare after winning that terrible game a week ago. But they have Jonathan Taylor out, and they have Nyheim Hines out. So you got a little thing going on at running back. We don't know if Phillip Lindsay's going to start or the other guy. I don't know his first name, but Jackson's the running back. The Colts have been kind of a sneaky disappointment. On the other hand, the Jaguars, you think they're going to beat the Texans last week, and they don't after putting up 38-10 over the Chargers. So right now, the Colts are 1.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 41. What do you think about this one-on-one?
I think the Colts cover, and I think the game goes over. I picked the Jags actually I had a ticket on the Jags in the first matchup that they had and I picked the Jags on the money line. But I don't think the Jags can sweep the Colts. I just don't think it happens.
I don't think so either, even though I'm still holding out hope that the Colts are a good team. Because on paper they should be. But Matt Ryan has looked really, of all the shit that Carson Wentz getting, people challenging Ron Rivera whether or not he wanted to take him or not, I would take Carson Wentz over Matt Ryan right now. Matt Ryan looks not the same guy. He's not Matty Ice right now. But I am in agreement with you. I think that the Colts shouldn't get swept by the Jags, and I don't think they're going to today. I'll take the Colts to win. I'll lay the points, but I'm going to take the under at 41. I don't see either team scoring a lot of points today, so I'm going to take the under on that one.
Okay.
Then we got the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants. Lamar Jackson is undefeated, I believe, against NFC teams in his career. The Giants, coming off a huge win in London last week against the Green Bay Packers. Today, though, the Ravens are 5.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 45.5. Alon.
I've been looking at this game for the last couple of days. This is like one of the hardest games for me to pick on the docket because that's 5.5 for the Ravens. It's tough. I actually think the Giants cover, so I'll take the Giants because they're at home. They'll cover. That's worth a couple of points up there in New York. And what is the total?
45.5.
Total is over.
All right, then. And are you taking the Ravens to win?
The Ravens will win. Yeah,
all
the
right.
Ravens will win, but they won't cover.
I'm going to take the Ravens to win. I do think that they win by a touchdown or more, so I am going to lay the points. I do think this is going to go over like you. So only difference there is I think that the Ravens are going to cover, and you think the Giants are going to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we got the New England Patriots going to Cleveland. Bill Belichick going back to play his former team. Many people forget. And we got Bailey Zappi again for the Patriots today. The Cleveland Browns are 2.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 43.
I like the Patriots to cover and win outright.
Nice.
So they'll get the job done, and that game will go over. I think we're going to have a lot of overs today.
All right, then. With how low scoring this season has been, I'm picking a lot of unders lately. But, I mean, we'll see as the season progresses. But I am going to take the Browns to win. Even though Bailey Zappi did a good job last week and the defense played great for the Patriots, I'm going to take the Browns to win. They need to come back, or they need to pick me up after that terrible loss a week ago to the Chargers, where Jacoby Brissett threw a pick in the end zone when they were up by 2. You throw the ball away and you kick a field goal, you're up by 1. So I'm taking the Browns to win. I'm going to lay the points. 2.5 is a little too low for me, but I am going to go under. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Okay.
Then we got the Jets going to Green Bay. Packers are playing another New York team, and they are favored after being favored by 9.5 last week over the Giants and losing, they are favored by 7.5 today over the Jets, and the over-under is at 45.5.
The Packers win this game and they cover. And I think this game goes under. I don't think the Jets are going to score very many points. I don't think the Packers are going to score very many points. But I do think they are going to cover. And with a big number like 7.5, you would assume if they're going to cover, it would go over. But I don't have confidence in the other side doing their job.
I am going to take the Green Bay Packers to win. However, the Jets have been sneaky good this year, and I'm not saying that they've been a great team, but they've been good keeping close games. So I am going to take the Jets to cover, but I'm going to go over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair today.
Okay.
Then we got the Minnesota Vikings going to Miami, and there is no Tua today. Doesn't sound like there's going to be any Teddy Bridgewater either. It's Skylar Thompson playing. Real quick, Alon. Not to say that that Tua wasn't concussed and everything. He's been cleared, I guess, by multiple doctors to come back, but they're not going to play him this week because of the abundance of caution and because of public outcry. You think we're going a little too crazy with the public perception of what happened with Tua, so now we have to, keep him bundled up for another week and everything? I know people are going to be like, oh my God, you guys are insensitive, but at the same time, he's cleared to play.
Yeah, if you're cleared, aren't you? It's like, oh, you're sick, now you're not sick. So if the doctors and all the medical staff said, okay, he's good to go, then what is an extra week of, unless he wasn't able to practice and you just needed more time for him to get ready? I don't know. I'm with you, Derek. I get it. Guys get hurt. You want to keep them safe, but if you're cleared to go. I'm sure he wants to play.
I think the Dolphins are getting screwed here. I know Tua suffered a concussion. I'm not doubting that. But with the abundance of caution going from him to Teddy Bridgewater to now playing their third-string quarterback, I think they're getting screwed because of the public outcry of what happened on Thursday night a couple weeks ago. Regardless, today they're playing the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 3, and the over-under is at 45.
I like the Dolphins to win and
with
cover.
Skylar Thompson?
With Skylar Thompson.
All right. And you're taking the over or the under?
The total is, what is the
45.
total? 45. Total's over.
All right, then. I'm going to take I don't really have a lot of faith. I mean, even if Tua was playing, I would take the Vikings today. I think they're just a better team. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings to win. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm taking the over as well. We got Joe Burrow going back to his old stomping grounds in New Orleans. He rolled up today on the Superdome with a Jamar Chase, I should say, LSU jersey. Bengals favored by 3, and the over-under is at 43. And Andy Dalton playing his former team today for the Saints.
Think that game goes under, and I think the Bengals cover and win.
I am with you, only that I think it's going to go over. I think that the Saints scoring a lot of points lately, especially last week against the Seahawks, developing Taysom Hill in their package a little bit more. I don't know if we'll see that every week, but I see this being a high-scoring game, so I'm going to take the over in that one. Then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett in his second start. The Buccaneers are 9.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 46.
This is tough because the Steelers can't score. They have besides Chicago, they have the worst offense in the NFL in terms of getting first downs and stuff like that. And Tampa hasn't really had a bed of roses either to lay on. So I think Tampa covers and wins, but the game, you know what? It's going to go over. Tampa's going to score 40 points. This is Tampa's get-right week.
I don't know about that. I think that after being beat down 38-3 a week ago and being at home, the Steelers are going to play a lot better defensively. I do take the Buccaneers to win, but I am going to take the Steelers to cover. 9.5 is just too much for me, and I'm going to go under. I think both offenses are not playing well, so I'm going to go under on that one. Then we got the Arizona Cardinals going to Seattle. This game was in limbo for a long time yesterday because of the Mariners and Astros game that went to 18 innings. And if the Mariners got another home game, they were going to push this game back to 5:30, which would have been weird because we wouldn't get it nationally. We'd all be watching the Eagles and Dallas game, but no one could see it nationally. It'd just be locally. However, regardless, the Mariners sweep. The Astros sweep. The Mariners are out. So Seattle only has one team to root for right now. You got the Cardinals favored by 2.5, and the over/under is at 50.5.
I like Seattle to cover and win at home.
Damn.
I think Geno Smith has been very, very good for them this season. And as far as the total goes, this total was at 47 at one point. I believe it's up in the 50.5, 51 point range.
Yeah.
Going under on the total.
I am as well, but I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to win, and I'm going to lay the points with them. Then we got the Carolina Panthers going to the Rams. Maybe a little showcase for all the Rams or the Panthers players available for the Rams. The Rams, despite all their woes and injuries to Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, they will play today, however. They're favored by 10, those Rams, and the over-under is 41.5.
Carolina covers, they lose, but they cover, and the game goes over.
All right. I am going to take the Rams to win, but Steve Wilkes, who's filling in for Matt Rule, is a no-nonsense guy. I think he's going to have his team ready to play today, so I'm going to take the Panthers to cover, but I am going to go under. I think that the Rams just needs to show me some more offensively, and I think this is going to be a tight game, honestly. Even though the Panthers are terrible, the Rams have not been playing very well, so I think it's going to actually be closer than people expect. Then we got arguably the game of the year so far. A year ago, these two teams played in the playoffs, and it was a matter of time and overtime rules that had one team advance, and that is the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, for the first time in his career, is a home underdog. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 54. Alon, what say you?
It's so hard not to take the Chiefs as home dogs. It's so tough, but they're just not as good as the Bills. I'll take the Bills to cover and win, obviously, and I like the under.
I was thinking the under too, but then I'm like, these offenses, how could you not take the over? But of course, it's so obvious that it's too good to be true. I can't do it, though. I'm going to take the Bills to win. I'm going to lay the points with them, but I am going to take the over just because it's the Bills and the Chiefs. And then we got the Sunday night game. Cowboys at the Eagles. The Eagles are 6.5-point favorites, and the over-under is at 42. Cooper Rush still playing for those Cowboys.
Cooper Rush is going to lead them to at least a cover. So I think the Cowboys cover. And I think the Eagles get their first loss this week as well. I think Cooper Rush gets an upset victory. And if that's going to all play out, then this game is going to go over 42.5.
All right, then. I am thinking that the Eagles are still going to win. Despite the fact of how good Cooper Rush is playing in the Cowboys defense, he's also got to lose some time as well. So I think it's going to be this game. I'm taking the Eagles to win. I'm going to lay the points, but I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game with two good defenses. And then the Monday night game, we're going to get a lot of Broncos on prime time, so everybody get used to it. Broncos at the Chargers. 45.5 is the over-under, and the Chargers are favored by 4.5.
Chargers win this game. They cover, and it's under. Broncos can't score.
I agree with you as well. So there you go. We got all our picks, and we'll see how it turns out. Ernie on the stream here is asking who won last week between me and Steven. We tied, man. We tied once again.
What do you do in a tie? What is the tie protocol?
Steven and I were it just had, as fate would have it, we were playing each other in our fantasy league, the Tickle My Butthole League.
Oh, yes.
And Steven is undefeated with Team WAP. You know the acronym.
WAP WAP. Yeah.
He's 5-0, and I am my team, Deshaun Twatson. We are 0-5. We are 0-5. I've been screwed every which way. There was a week where I was at the bar with Steven and we were watching games, and I reminded myself over and over again, I got to put Keenan Allen out of my lineup and put Romeo Doubs in. And sure enough, I totally forgot. Lost by 2 points because I forgot to put Romeo Doubs in instead of Keenan Allen. So I've been screwed. I'm screwed, Alon. Even though I'm scoring pretty well in that league, nothing's going my way. So to answer your question, Ernie, Steve and I have tied, and when Steve comes back, we will think of a tiebreaker. So there you go.
I like a rap battle.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Please.
Rap battle.
I could take Steven to school. So who's going to judge it, though? You?
Oh, I don't know. No. You'd have to get someone who really knows rap. So think of someone who really knows rap music.
Guru.
And Guru. There you go. Guru can judge it.
All right. So there you have it. Guru will judge me and Steven's rap battle in a week. Alon, thank you as always, sir. I am very thankful that you were able to make time for us today. I know you were doing a big deal last night, doing play-by-play for the UNLV Air Force game. That game was a late kickoff, and you turned around and woke up this morning to be with me, so I really appreciate that, my man. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me on anytime. Anytime you need someone to fill in, I'm always here. I love doing this, and I like the segment. I like the fact that it's not just a winner, it's not just a cover, and it's not just a over. It's all three of the or total.
Yeah,
it's all
man.
three of those things. That's smart because then it's almost impossible to tie. I don't know how you and Steven tied. That's incredible.
2 weeks in a row, actually, because we kind of pretty much think the same way, but also there's little things here or there. But yeah, it's actually it's been fun picking the spreads and everything. I'm getting used to. If prop 27 passes, we'll see what happens here. I may get totally hooked here, but we'll see.
Every device becomes a gambling addiction, Derek. That's what you need to know.
In every device, you can watch porn as well. So
that's true.
Everyone can chill out. On that note, Alon, we'll see if we could do a midweek show here to recap all the games this week. I'll hit you up. We'll see if we have another show this week. But until then, everybody, thank you, and I'll let you do the honors, Alon, if you remember how we tag out on this show.
Just your opinion, man.
There you go.